What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast, the Postgame Pod. Nathan King here, joined by Patrick Bingham here from inside Neville Arena. Auburn picks up another SEC win, another game where an opponent comes in hungry for a victory to get off the NCAA tournament bubble, and a win over number 1 Auburn on the road would obviously be massive for a team's NCAA tournament resume. The Tigers knew that. They absorbed Georgia's best shot here today. It was a close game pretty much all the way through. Auburn only led by double digits a couple times, but they end up winning by double digits, 82-70. Auburn takes down the Bulldogs and completes the season sweep. Patrick, you and I were talking throughout the game. I mean, this one never really felt, I just didn't feel like they had that threatening gear that Arkansas had. Obviously, Arkansas did have a lead. That was the difference. Georgia never led in this game, but it felt like Auburn had so many advantages here that they were kind of playing with their food offensively in the first half, and especially once Johni Broome got rolling. Even when it was, I think it was a 4-point game with like 3 or 4 minutes left or something like that, it never really felt in danger, and credit to Auburn, Broome, and specifically Auburn at the foul line too late in the game. Credit to them for closing out this one.
Yeah, I mean, Broome, very much the player of the game. I think the 4th time in his career he's gotten to 30-plus points. 31 is an Auburn career high, so Broome leads to Auburn's sweep of Georgia. See what I did there? But yeah, I mean, he was I think 4 of 11. I could be wrong, but he didn't have a great from the field percentage in the first half, and then just proceeds to have a perfect 7 for 7 mark in the second half and just completely took off. I think he had 19 of his 31. I think were in the second half, and so I mean, he was just dominant. There was a stretch there where it was like Auburn was kind of going on a run, but it really just felt like it was Johni Broome going on a run. Like everything that was going well on both ends was him. So I mean, he was dominant, and Pearl said that post game. He was like, at the end of the day, we had number 4, and they didn't.
Yeah, Johni Broome in this one, as Patrick said, a new Auburn career high for him. His career high period was at Morehead State when he had 32 points, but he had 31 in this game, 14 rebounds. 6 of those were on the offensive glass. I'd be interested to see how many times Auburn scored after one of those. There was a key score late in the game where Broome had 2 offensive rebounds in 1 possession that ended with like a floater by Denver Jones, as Auburn was just trying to kick away Georgia at the end of the game. 4 assists as well, 2 blocks. I thought this was one of his best games of the entire season. He had that ankle wrapped back up in the second half. Looked like he was kind of hobbling on it there in the second half, but man, he just continues to power through that. I thought this was kind of a statement game for him in the Player of the Year race. Obviously, Bruce Pearl and everybody at Auburn would go ahead and obviously give that award to him today between him and Duke freshman Cooper Flagg. But let's talk about that first half. I mean, it was kind of a slugfest. It really just felt sleepy as compared to some recent ones. What we've kind of come to expect from this Auburn team. On the offensive end, Bruce Pearl said after the game, Mike White ran a 1-2-2 zone that he said he complimented Mike White for it after the game. Really sort of felt out of rhythm. The only thing Auburn could do was kind of shoot threes on top of it. Denver Jones made 1. Chad Baker-Mazar made 1 right before the break. But credit to Georgia for being able to keep up in this game. Asa Newell, when him and Broome were going back and forth, and that was awesome. You're talking about a lottery pick freshman against the potential Player of the Year. Silas Demery also had 18 points for Georgia. But talking about down the stretch there, the guards did not have a very good game, I think, shooting-wise. Denver Jones did, but a little bit of iffy performance from Chad Baker-Mazar overall. Todd Pettiford, I don't think, made a shot from the floor. But they combined 15 of 15 at the foul line. Auburn's guards did, and so that was obviously really big in them closing out this game. Yeah,
I think they were 19 of 22 in the second half, the entire team from the charity stripe, and so it's like, that's how you close out a game like that. Yeah. And I mean, Auburn, a lot of the second half, it was kind of like anywhere from like a 5-point lead to like an 8-point lead. That's how they got it to 12. It's just closing it out there. But yeah, the guards didn't as quite just like have it today. Yeah. That's, I think Henry Patton asked in the postgame about, Auburn has a significantly worse percentage from 3 at home versus on the road, which is kind of hilarious and a little bit weird, not what you would think about for Auburn, who like has a big home court like atmosphere and everything. But I think the past 2 games, after they went and hit 12 in Tuscaloosa from deep, these past 2 games have been the second and third fewest made shots from deep this season, which obviously both home games, and they both won them. And that's kind of the thing is like, and when we know this about Auburn because they're so deep, but it's like when a whole almost unit like that struggles from 3 or something, like Broome just takes over and they win. Yeah. And so we just continue to see that, like Auburn, when they're not even necessarily playing their A game against good SEC teams. I mean, Georgia, they're probably not going to make the tournament, but they're fighting for it in theory. They continue to get it done, but. Yeah,
I think Georgia's one of those teams that not necessarily on the bubble, but one that would, I mean, with this win, would absolutely be in that conversation. And Bruce Pearl talked about that after the game, saying, "Look, that's how it's been all year. When you're the number one team in the country, even though a team like Ole Miss is in, like you're going to get that from them. Obviously, wanting that kind of signature when they lost on the road today." You mentioned Chad Baker-Mazara. I thought really it was kind of it was almost to be expected once those technical fouls happened. I've never seen quadruple techs in a game, but it was a situation where you kind of just saw guys get into it and then get separated pretty quickly. Upon replay, I didn't know what they were going to do. They end up administering 2 technical fouls. It was kind of funny the way he phrased it, because he was like, "We have multiple techs," and then he named 2 Georgia players, and everyone was like, "Yeah, multiple techs. It's on both the Georgia players." And then he goes, "And 10 in white and 2 in white." So he's like kind of left it for dramatic effect. But I mean, I think Bruce Pearl agreed after the game, and most people watch. I mean, weak call. I mean, Bruce Pearl said he sort of expected nothing from it, expected them to come away and say, because I mean, really, it was Silas Demery and Denver Jones Demery kind of walked into him. Jones kind of held him off. Chad Baker-Mazara comes in and kind of separates. Samoto Cyril comes in and kind of separates. And nobody, there's no extra physicality, and then they teed up every single one of those guys. I mean, I guess I sort of understand it. My point being, it sparked from there.
Yes,
both
100%.
teams got running up and down the floor. I thought that really was what kind of shook both these teams out of what was it. You got the crowd into it. They had that. Dylan Cardwell had kind of that baseball pass ahead, and Johni Broome had a one-handed slam, but that kind of shook the crowd into it. But Patrick, they've now taken care of business now in their first 2 of 3 games here at home during this 3-game home stretch, and as Florida looks like they're going to take care of business on the road if that game wasn't over. I think that game was over already. Alabama is currently leading Kentucky. We'll see what happens there, but Auburn continues to be in a position where that magic number now is starting to come down, where if they are able to take care of business against Ole Miss and go on the road against Kentucky, they'll have an opportunity to clinch the SEC regular season title in Lexington. And so while this was a game against the Georgia team that they're okay, they're not that great, it was, at the end of the day, it was another SEC victory, which, they all count for the same in the win column here as Auburn is trying to play for a championship.
Yeah, and Pearl even said that in the postgame. He was like, "Look, I mean, we have an older team, we have a senior, laden team, and it's like they know they're getting to the end of the regular season. They only have 2 more games here.
Yeah,
ever, and so you want to win every single one you can, and certainly this one against a team that's fringe, even bubble." You want to take advantage of that and just continue your mark as other teams start to beat up each other. Alabama and Florida both have tough they have to play each other, so one of them's going to lose, and Alabama has a tough stretch. As these other teams kind of play some of the harder games you've already won, granted, Auburn's last 3 games are also hard. Yeah. You want to take advantage of ones while you can.
Yes.
To go ahead and, secure that regular season title.
Yeah, I mean, games like this are important because they are not Kentucky on the road.
Yes.
Because they are not Texas A&M on the road. They are objectively somebody who has a deep SEC losing record on your home floor. And so the fact that Auburn was able to pull away is obviously nice for them. But as Bruce Pearl said after the game, the object for this team, and I think he knows some of his past teams have not been able to do this down the stretch heading toward the tournament.
Yep.
The object is to improve. The object is to get better over the next few games. This is another example, just like Arkansas. Both of these games, you're not really, I don't think there's a ton of sweeping statements I would make in terms of concern after either of these games, because my concern in this game for Auburn was how bad they started on offense, and then it just kind of worked out. You would maybe say the defense as the pace picked up, but I'm not concerned about Auburn's defense down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like them not making threes at home or whatever. It's okay, they're not playing the postseason at home, but also you're
going to have to beat Alabama, so yeah.
Yeah, and they've shown no consistently long lull of not making shots from deep.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, granted, in the NCAA tournament where it is a single elimination tournament, sure, they could go cold and they could lose.
Yeah.
But there's not really been a consistent theme of something we should all freak out about in these last couple of games.
Yeah, and I mean, the consistent theme has been, I don't know what his averages are since coming back from injury, but I mean, I think this was a game that if Johni Broome had just kind of done his thing and they had taken care of Georgia and he hadn't had to put the team on his back, I think that kind of This was a statement game, as I mentioned, for the Player of the Year candidacy for him. I was seeing some stuff on social media. I think people took notice of when you drop 31 and have 14 and 4 and you make the kind of plays that he did. So obviously that is Auburn's constant. Auburn's going to go as Johni Broome goes, and obviously they're going to continue to look to get better here and look to improve down the stretch of the season. Now with only 4 games left in the regular season, Auburn's 13-1 on the year. I know it's coming down to it really, really fast. So crazy that we're already at this point. Auburn takes care of Georgia, though, here inside Neville Arena, 82-74. 270. Head over to auburnundercover.com. Going to have you guys covered throughout Saturday night into Sunday with coverage of this game, and obviously 2 big games next week against Ole Miss and Kentucky. Nathan King for Patrick Bingham. We will talk to you guys soon.